So this world is starting to shape up quite nicely. Everyone seems to be getting settled in after the initial hustle and bustle of the beginning stages of Minecraft. Even I now have netherite armor and more resources than I know what to do with. Naturally, people are starting to look elsewhere for their future plans. Mega bases, entire towns, and even mega farms require huge amounts of space. This is going to push people to travel to far off locations seeking all their requirements. Now, elytra and nether tunnels are great, don't get me wrong. I would never take away utilitarian options from anyone. But I do like the idea of having a cohesive overworld connecting feature, even if it's not particularly used. Something that adds to perhaps the world building aspect of it all. Now, that could be paths or rivers, these are quite standard, but I want to go a little different this season. And you can see that I've laid out the foundation for it too. You see, when the idea for a bridge connecting these two plateaus was floated, I immediately knew that I wanted a railed bridge. And so, that's what we designed and built. Same thing for the bridge connecting the shopping district. Now, this is all fantastic groundwork, but I want the world to feel alive. I love building things that are in motion, builds that feel dynamic. And so, I came up with the idea of building a train on this bridge. One that looks like it's barreling down the tracks with a great big majestic steam trail coming off of it. Something to complement the bridge and remove the unnatural straight lines we've produced. Now, as you can see, we have all the resources, so the only thing left to do is, well, to get building. Alrighty, this is looking epic. And as you can see, I also laid out the wheels over which our carriages will be built upon. I have a ton of different designs which I'm sure you guys will love. But here's a really cool thing. I made a conscious decision to make all of them a standard 16 blocks long, an even number, and one that is long enough to give us creative leeway, but not too long that we can only build 2 or 3 carriages in Minecraft scale. In real life, bogie wagons, those with 4 axles like the ones we've built here, typically have a length of 14 to 20 meters, so we're actually inside the range set by the TSI standards here in Europe. Now, if you've ever wondered how a steam locomotive works, here's a quick 1-minute rundown. First, we burn fuel, usually coal, to generate intense heat in a firebox. This heat travels through tubes to boil water in a large boiler, creating high-pressure steam. The steam is piped into cylinders where it expands and forces pistons back and forth. Those pistons are linked to drive rods that ultimately turn the wheels before the spent steam is vented out the chimney, creating that iconic white plume. Now, since there seems to be a lot of misinformed opinions on coal recently, it should be said that coal is an atrocious form of energy. Not only does it contain harmful substances like lead, mercury, and arsenic that are really bad for your body, but it's also really inefficient. In a natural gas combined cycle plant, you capture energy twice. First from the gas expansion spinning a turbine, and again from leftover heat making steam. Because coal is a dirty solid, you can't run it through a turbine directly. You're stuck just using the heat to boil water, wasting a massive chunk of its potential energy. Now, obviously the ideal is not to burn any polluting fuels, but anyway, I digress. As you can see, while we've been yapping about all of this stuff, we've gone ahead and started building all of the different carriages. So why don't we actually jump into the world and check them out? So we've gone ahead and completed the actual train part of the build, and this is what it's looking like. We have our steam locomotive at the front, probably my favorite part of the entire train. Then we are followed by a kind of like a container wagon, right? So whether we have LNG or like chemicals in there or some types of liquids that need to be carried cross country, that's what this wagon is for. Then we have the next wagon with 2 shipping containers. They are not ISO 668 compliant, unfortunately, but I do think they look pretty good, especially from like far away, so I'm happy with them. Then we have the next wagons, which are, I'm actually not entirely sure what they're originally used for, but this is kind of like what I imagined at the end of the first book of the like Legend trilogy, right? So, you know, you see like the hobos like jumping in the train, or like naughty teenagers that do like naughty stuff, like jump on trains and do stuff like that. So we have 2 of these carriages. This one has both doors closed, so there's no interior. We have this next one, which is like meant to carry animals. So I'm thinking of putting a couple pigs in here and then kind of breeding them a little bit, and then maybe putting some on the 2nd floor, right? So it's very efficient in terms of space. And then for the last wagon, we have kind of like an ore or a mineral type of wagon. So it's a little bit more reinforced over here, and we're currently carrying a whole bunch of copper ore. Now, I think this is looking pretty good. I'm actually quite happy with how the train looks. I'm thinking we could add maybe 1 more or 2 wagons to the train just to give it that extra bit of length. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. From the shopping district, it's gonna look awesome as well, right? So, I mean, look at that. Beautiful stuff. I'm very happy with it. So we're in my creative world right now, and you might be wondering what exactly we're doing here. And well, I thought I would take you through the process of how I go about building organic shapes, especially as someone who historically hasn't really been very good at it. So I've managed to copy the train that we built over here, and I want to show you exactly how I go about it. So what we have over here is, with Axiom Mod, you can use the annotation tool to simply put images in your world. And I'll show you exactly how this can be useful. So the first one is to, well, put the image overlay, and you can actually check out that we can now see how exactly an organic shape like the smoke should look like, right? So this feels like a pretty good size. I mostly did it this way just so that we can see the size, and you can see exactly how I managed to kind of like make it fit exactly the steam locomotive with the steam locomotive that we built. Oops, let's see if we don't move that. And I'm quite happy with the size. So I've managed to go ahead and put a width of 100 for our image. Now, what we can then do, and this is usually easier if you just paste it on the ground, is have it laid flat, right? So now that we have it laid flat over here, we can go ahead and take some glass, for example, and we can start tracing an outline, right? So it obviously won't look exactly perfect given that this is Minecraft, but we can get a general feel for how exactly it should look. And we can just keep on tracing until we have the entire smoke and we're happy with the shape. And once you're happy with your outline, we can simply use the magic select tool, rotate it 90 degrees, and this is now the glass panes that we're going to be working with. The next step is quite simple. So inside Axiom, we can go ahead and click the shape icon, and with a solid sphere, it's probably going to be your best friend if you want to build anything that's remotely related to organic shapes. We can change the stone here, make it into white stained glass, and what we want to do is change the diameter. So when we start off, we want to use very small diametered spheres, and then progressively let them get bigger as we get closer to the end of our build, right? And if we just keep on doing this, the end should look something like this. So as you can see, we just have a variety of different spheres which get progressively bigger as we get towards the end over here. Now, this is all fine and dandy, but what we really want to do is to be able to reduce the density of our glass, right? Glass is a relatively hard material to work with. Not only do you need to smelt it, but you also have to collect all the sand manually since there's no farms to it. And Axiom can help us with this as well. So we can use the noise painter, and by unselecting surface, we can ensure that we are targeting the entirety of all the glass, not just the one on the surface. And for the noise, I like to go for white noise, given that it is the most granular, and you can kind of see a preview of how your noise will look like over here. I've selected glass and air at about 50-50, and when we go ahead and actually trace through it, what you can see happened is that now there's a lot of air inside of the glass, so this makes it a hell of a lot more airier. The next step is quite simple. We can use the magic select tool again, and by pressing Ctrl R, we can replace all of this into glass panes, such as white stained glass panes. This is going to make it a little bit easier. Obviously, this looks a little bit atrocious, but not to worry, we can simply go under Operations and click Trigger Updates. And voila, we now have a solid smoke that we can work with. Obviously, the next step is to make that a little bit more darker, make it more black, make it more gray, and have like a kind of like an ombre as we go into white. So in order to get that kind of ombre look, we can simply use the gradient painter. Over here, we can set exactly what we want our blocks to be. So I've gone for some black glass paints, some gray, some light gray, and then some white. And with this, we can do some pretty interesting stuff. So if we right click on one side and then right click on the other, we can kind of see what it'll look like. Obviously, this is gonna reset again, so if we just trigger updates again, we can see how that ombre looks. Now, we have to play with it a little bit to make sure we get exactly what we want, but once we are happy with what we have, it should look a little bit something like this. Alright, so there we have it. This is kind of the final design, which I'm quite happy with. I added a tiny bit of normal glass over there just to make it a little bit thicker. But yeah, as you can see, we progress from black stained glass to gray to light gray and then finally to white over here. And I think it actually looks pretty damn good, I have to say. I'm very happy with it. I went ahead and reduced a little bit more of the volume, or sorry, of the density over here, just to make it a tiny bit more airy, and also to save me from having to collect even more glass, because in survival, this is over a double chest full of glass panes, which was a bit of a pain in the bum to do, but I think it actually ended up looking fantastic. So I'm very happy with this. So this is what we currently have, and I have to say, I'm actually very happy with the train. I think it looks absolutely phenomenal. It looks awesome from all of these different angles. If we go all the way to the shopping district over here, looks pretty epic. And as you can see, I've started building some dioramas. I haven't really completed them yet, but this is what I have so far. I have me over here as conductor, kind of like sticking my head out the window. It looks really cute, really funny. We have Queenie over here. She lent me one of her heads. We have her over here fighting off a skeleton over here, kind of like Wild West style, which looks pretty awesome. And then here we have Cash and Viper, and in the hobo compartment, we have Cash helping Viper get up here after he's fallen, or maybe he's pushing him, who knows? But it's Cash, he's probably helping our friend Viper up here. But yeah, so this is looking pretty damn epic, I have to say. Now, my favorite view is actually from Skunk Space over here. So he's on this hill over here, and if we actually come over here, oh my lord. His base looks, by the way, super awesome, but tell me that that isn't just absolutely photo worthy. That looks absolutely phenomenal. It looks beautiful. I'm so happy with how this turned out. Oh my gosh, yes. We're getting some beautiful views on the server now. But anyway, guys, I think that's actually where we're gonna leave it there for today. So if you guys enjoyed, make sure to give the video a like. If you want to see more content just like this one, make sure to subscribe. I love you all, and have a wonderful day.